Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another great edition of our Lunch with Haley webinar series. My name is Todd Lewandowski. I'm the Director of Content Marketing here at Haley Marketing. And today we're going to be talking about email marketing and taking email beyond the inbox. This is a webinar that we like to do about once a year just to talk about everything that's new with email marketing. So if you were on last year's Lunch with Haley on email marketing, you might notice a few things that are repetitive, but we've got a bunch of cool new stuff in store for you today, some testing that we've been doing, along with some new trends in what's new with email marketing. So just want to let everybody know before we get going, a little housekeeping. At the end of the presentation, within the next day or so, you will be getting an email from GoToWebinar that will have the slides of today's presentation. Or else you can also download them over in the question section, or I'm sorry, in the chat section. There's a link to our Lunch with Haley website there as well. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, you can use the question box over in the GoToWebinar page, and we'll try to get to those either while we're going along or at the end. Hopefully we'll leave some time to have your questions answered. So let's kick it all off, and let's talk about what exactly is email marketing. It's kind of a blanket term that everybody likes to use, but what it is it's all-encompassing, really. You've got email blasts, for lack of a better term. These would be any mass emails that you send out as a company to either your clients, your prospects, your candidates. Usually people consider those newsletters. Monthly, quarterly newsletters. Some people do them weekly. Also, any personal emails. Personal emails from you to a client, to a prospect, to a candidate is considered email marketing. Social messaging, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, any of those have direct message capabilities, so that's considered email marketing. Any service notifications, if you signed up for something and you get a confirmation email, that's considered email marketing. And also any autoresponders. Out of office can really be considered email marketing. These are important things to keep in mind because with any of these email devices, you want to make sure that your brand is consistent. So even within your autoresponder, if you're out for the day and you have your out of office turned on, make sure that you include some information about your company in there, either your website, your email address, links to your Facebook, your social media pages. It's always important to make sure that you have a cohesive message. And one of the questions that we keep getting over and over again throughout all these years is, has email marketing lost its impact? And usually around this time of the presentation, we like to hit you with a bunch of statistics about this percentage of people check their email at least once an hour. But I thought this year would be really good to share a great success story from one of our clients because I think it really shows the impact of email marketing. This was directly from one of our clients who sent out a top candidate mailing. So on Wednesday, we sent out our first mailing using Haley and received 4 confirmed job orders within 4 hours. In each case, one of the 8 candidates was specifically named as a person they would like to have come in for an interview. Now, if you think about that, the commission that this client made on those job orders probably paid for their entire year of email marketing. So when clients ask us or prospects ask us, is email marketing lost its impact, I say, no way. And this is one of the prime examples of that. So just a simple list of top candidates, a quick paragraph about each candidate, what made them great, sent it out, and within 4 hours they had 4 confirmed job orders. It really is one of the highest ROI marketing tactics that you can use. And as another example, wanted to share this with you. This is an example of a client's Google Analytics. You probably heard us talk about Google Analytics on past Lunch with Haley's. But Google Analytics is a free service you can install on your website, and it will track all of the traffic to your website, along with a bunch of other metrics. But this is just a simple screenshot of 2 clients' overall website traffic on Google Analytics. And as you can see, the peaks there that I've circled in orange are days that they sent out a mailing, a mass mailing, a newsletter. As you can see, those were the highest days of traffic to their websites were days that they're sending out newsletters. So really, I mean, again, the impact of email has not been lost. It is still driving people to your website. It is still making an impact. It is still connecting with people. So today what we want to talk about the majority of today, is going to be talking about the 4 keys to successful email marketing. And we're going to start off talking about content because, as we know, content is the king of any type of marketing that you're doing. Subject line, we're going to talk about some really cool tests that we've been doing over the past years with subject lines and how to drive open rates. The design and the impact that mobile email use has had on design, and also on deliverability. So we're going to start with content. And really, to me, content is king. I had the opportunity to listen in on Content Marketing World, which is, I think, the nation's largest content marketing seminar. And it was held in Cleveland a couple weeks ago, and they actually streamed their keynote speakers live online, which is a great example of content marketing. So I'm going to share some thoughts from that as well. But first, we want to address what is content marketing. It's another one of those blanket umbrella type of terms. Content marketing really is anything that your company sends out that is going to provide information to clients, to prospects, and to candidates. It can be white papers, newsletters, ebooks, blog, social media, anything you put out there in the world that people can read and get information from is considered content marketing. And I wanted to share, this was really one of the best quotes and the best explanations I've ever heard on content marketing. And it comes from Robert Rose at the Content Marketing Institute, and that's the company that puts on Content Marketing World every year. It says, marketing is telling the world you're a rock star. Content marketing is showing the world that you are one. And I really have never heard a better explanation of content marketing there. You can tell people about how great you are, how you can solve all their problems, but really it's the content that you provide them that is going to prove that to them. One of the overwhelming themes from Content Marketing World this year, and of the 4 keynotes that I had a chance to listen in on, every single person said the same thing. You need to be telling your story. For example, if you know, most of the people on the call today are in the staffing and recruiting industry. So who is XYZ Staffing? Who are you? What makes you unique? What are the type of people that work at XYZ Staffing? That's one of the things when we talk about social media marketing or content marketing. One of the things that people often forget is to make sure that your company and the people at your company, make sure their personalities are on display with your content marketing. So if you're doing some local charity event, maybe you're doing Habitat for Humanity, or you're taking part in a 5K, a charitable 5K, make sure that that is one of the focuses of your content marketing. Take pictures, show the work that you guys are doing. Even something as simple as somebody's birthday, featuring that in your newsletter or on your social media or on your blog. You really want to tell your story. And this is probably something that's going to take a little bit of work. You may want to sit down as a company and talk about what is our story. You know, what is our brand? What do we want to put out there in the world? There's an old phrase called the elevator pitch. If you're in an elevator with somebody for 30 seconds in between floors, how would you describe your company to them in those 30 seconds before they get off at their floor? Now, I know this next slide is going to be a little contradictory to what I just said, but really content marketing should not just be about you. It really should focus on a problem your customer has. You want to talk to the customer about the problem, not about yourself initially, but about their problem. Identify their problem, empathize with their problem. Then you can relate it to the customer, relate yourself to the customer. So how can XYZ Staffing help with these problems? So if you know a big issue in your marketplace right now is finding qualified candidates. Well, you may send out a piece of content about how to find kind of the needle in the haystack candidates. There may be a subtle sales pitch about your staffing firm and your services, but really it might be a bullet point about 10 different ways to find the candidate who's not looking for a job right now. Again, it's finding that problem, relating it back to the client. There's another really great quote that came out of Content Marketing World, and it says, it's from Jay Baer, who wrote a great book called Utility about content marketing. It says, sell something and you make a customer today, help someone and you create a customer for life. It's kind of a takeoff on the old teaching a person to fish quote. But I thought this was really great because it shows that it doesn't just have to be about selling. It should be about helping your clients, helping your candidates. And I wanted to actually step away from the presentation right now because I wanted to talk about a really great example that was actually shared at Content Marketing World about how you can help your clients. And this is a commercial from Brazil, from the Nivea company. But I just want you to watch this for the next minute or so here, and then we'll talk about it after this. No, I just was let known that there wasn't any audio on that, but really it was just music playing in the background, so you didn't miss anything with the audio. But what that showed was Nivea came up with this brilliant idea. So the Nivea company provides sunblock, one of their biggest products. And what they did was they sat down and they said, well, where do people use our products? Well, obviously one of the biggest places they use it is at the beach. And they said, well, what are some of the problems that people have at the beach? Well, sand gets everywhere, okay? Nothing we can really do about that. But what's one of the biggest problems? People lose their cell phone charge while they're at the beach all day. So, okay, what can we do to help them out? Now, the Nivea Corporation obviously is not in the business of creating cell phone chargers, but they came across this great technology, a little insert that's included in a magazine, because of course one of the things that people love to do at the beach is read magazines. So they came up with this technology. It was just a very thin piece of solar technology that harnessed the sun and provided a cell phone charge. So again, the Nivea Corporation isn't known for their cell phone chargers, but now when you're at the beach, they're solving a huge problem that you have of your phone running out of power throughout the day. So now they didn't sell you their sunblock. They didn't sell you any of their moisturizers. They sold you a solution to a problem. So now the next time you're in the store and you're looking for sunblock, you're going to remember that the Nivea Corporation does something really cool with helping me out with one of those problems. So that's why this quote here, help someone and you can create a customer for life. And that's really what content marketing is all about. Another aspect of content marketing is developing your brand. And there was a really great presentation at Content Marketing World that was centered around this. And it was talking mostly about social media and how social media has really driven down brand awareness and brand preference. I shouldn't say awareness. It's increasing brand awareness, but decreasing brand preference. If you don't provide your brand to consumers, they're going to make it up for themselves. It's up to you to let your prospects, let your clients know who you are, what your brand is, what sets you apart. And likes and followers on social media don't build a brand, but the content does. So it's great to have thousands of followers and thousands of likes on Facebook and on Twitter and on LinkedIn. But if you don't have really great content on there, it's not going to matter. It's the content that you provide that's really going to set you apart. And like I said, as social media use is increasing, brand preference is going down because people are being hit with so much brand branding everywhere they go, whether it's on social media, in their cars, on TV, on their phones, sponsored ads within apps. Really, you can't escape branding anymore. So brand preference is starting to go down. So what you need to do is, again, do some homework. Sit down and look at your social media, at your website, at your blog, and at your email marketing and say, what does this say about our brand? Does your website say that you're a company that's stuck in the 90s? Or does your website say that you're a billion-dollar staffing firm, even though you might be only be $1 million staffing firm? Really want to make sure that not only is it getting the right brand across, but that it's cohesive, that across all of your marketing platforms, social media, website, blog, email marketing, that there's some cohesion there, that everything is saying the same thing. So now switching over from content marketing to the next question, how do you get your email opened? Well, really, if you think about it, when you receive an email, there's only 2 bits of information that you have right away. You have the sender's name, and you have the subject line. And those are 2 of the most important ways that you're going to get people to open up your email. And more so than just the sender's name, subject lines are really the most important piece. We took a look at here at the top subject lines across all of our clients in 2012 and which ones had the best views. And not surprised. Actually, I'll say I was a little surprised at number 1 there. How can we improve? It was a very simple survey that our clients sent out talking about their services and how they can improve. You also see some of the, we're going to get into this in a second here, but some of the more attention-getting subject lines that we've used. Down towards the bottom there, we need to talk. Now, if you get an email from somebody and you just see the subject line, we need to talk, you know something important is about to happen here. But it was about communication. So it was a little bit of what we call kind of a, I hesitate to use the word deceiving, but it is a little bit of a deceiving subject line to get people to open it up. Wanted to show you here just kind of some examples of that. We used to use kind of straightforward, somewhat dry subject lines in our emails. And over the past year or 2, we've tried to really make them attention-getting. So in the years past, we would have used a subject line like, want to get hired, improve your listening skills. Now we would use a subject line that says, shut up and listen. Yeah, it's a little edgier, it's a little thought-provoking, but it's going to get your attention if you see that in your subject lines in your inbox. Or conducting reference checks. You might use a subject line that says, have you ever lied on a reference check? Oh, that's pretty serious. That's a serious question. That's going to get me to open it up. Now, this is one of my favorite ones. Why are exit interviews important? And we use the subject line, before you go, ... So if you're towards the end of your day and you're looking at your emails and all of a sudden one pops up that says, before you go, you're saying, oh, geez, I better open this right away. And the one that got probably the most attention out of any subject line we've ever used was an article on employee retention tips. And we use the subject line, you're fired. Well, believe it or not, that was one of the most talked about subject lines and the most responded to subject lines. We certainly scared a few people. In fact, there was a story about one of our clients who sent it out and sent it to their internal staff. And one of their employees was on a personal phone call when this email popped up in their inbox, and they thought they were being fired because they were on a personal phone call. And luckily they weren't, but as you can see, it's all about cutting through the clutter. Think about how many emails you get in your inbox every single day. How are you going to stand out? How are you going to get your emails to stand out from the crowd? Next thing we want to talk about is the mobile revolution. And it's interesting because we talked about this on last year's email marketing webinar, and we talked about the coming mobile revolution. And sure enough, we just came across this study a couple weeks ago. It says in 2011, 16% of emails were opened on a mobile device, whether that's an iPad, a tablet, a smartphone. In the second quarter of this year, 2013, almost 50% of emails were opened on a mobile device. So think about how much that has changed in just a little under 2 years. Now 50%, half of the emails that are being opened on a mobile device. So again, it's something that you need to think about. Are we alienating 50% of our email list because our email design doesn't work for mobile. Here's a really great example of a email design that works great on a mobile device. So this is looking at an email on an iPhone. There's a lot of things that you want to take a look at to see if your email is mobile friendly. First thing is subject lines. What you want to do is you want to keep them short and keep them sweet and keep them catchy. We just talked about that on one of the previous slides. There's not a ton of character room when you're looking at an email on a smartphone or on a tablet. So you want to make sure that it's attention-getting, but it's also short. Less is more. Again, you don't want to have a ton of clutter. On the smaller screen, you want to have less content, but have it be bigger. If you can see on this this example here on the left, really nice, bold pictures, headlines, and buttons. That's really key. Readability. With a smaller device, you want to make sure you're using a larger font. And iPhone will adjust any font to 13 point. Some phones don't do this for you. Some will make them bigger, some will make them smaller. It all depends. There's thousands of different devices out there. So what you want to do is we recommend usually about a 14 point for body copy and 22 point for headlines. That's about what we're using here. And as you can tell, no problem reading this, seeing the buttons that you need to click on. You also want to choose your background colors. A bright background can be very distracting on a phone, especially in if somebody's outside and they're looking at it in the sun. It can be very distracting. We always recommend using some neutral colors. Again, this example here on the left is a great example of that. You want to make sure your call to action is front and center. As you can see, the buttons here for the articles, get help finding help. Click on there. Keep your team focused. Very easy to click on that. Scrolling to the left or the right to find out what the message is going to make the reader do too much work. You want your message and your call to action to be up front and center. You also want to make sure that you are using text-based links. A lot of these links you'll see up at the top here, the newsletter archive, the update my info, refer a friend, those are all text-based links, so that if somebody opens up their email on their phone, they may not have their images turned on. So if one of your buttons or one of your links is an image-based link, it's not going to show up for them. So you want to make sure that it's always text-based whenever possible. And then if all else fails, you always want to make sure you include a view as a web or view in browser link up at the top. You'll see it up at the top of this email here, view in browser. That allows people to open it up. It'll open up a browser, and it'll open it up just like a web page. All right, next thing we want to talk about is how to maximize the results from your email marketing. One of the ways you can do that is by building a list. Now, there are a lot of questionable ways that you can build an email list. So what we're going to show you here is the what not to do list. Scraping data off the internet is a big no-no. Purchasing opt-in lists also. We do not allow our clients to purchase any lists. To be honest with you, beyond the spam ramifications, opt-in lists are also not that accurate either, and that goes for either print or email. We usually, you're not going to get a very clean list. It's not going to be up to date, and it's really, for the amount of money that a company will charge you for it, it's really not worth it. Data pending. There's a company called Jigsaw, other data services. Trading lists with other companies. Facebook, pulling people's emails off of Facebook. And the most important one we just learned about in the past year, is pulling emails off of resumes. I'm sure everybody on this call has grabbed an email off of somebody's resume to add to their candidate email list. That is against the law in terms of CAN-SPAM law. Now, what you can do is on your application, and we always suggest doing this, is include a box that says a little simple checkbox that people can check off to say, yes, I'd like to receive emails from XYZ Staffing. And then you can add those people to your candidate mailing list. That's one of the things I want to talk about, too. A lot of people think about email marketing just with clients, but it's so important to stay in touch with candidates as well. You want to be marketing yourself to your candidates because in your city there may be 100 different staffing firms. Not only are those staffing firms competing for clients, but they're also competing for candidates. So you want to make sure that you treat your candidates just like you would your clients and your prospects, and stay in touch with them every month and send them great content, career-related content. Also want to try testing. This is something, and we're going to show some examples here coming up, but there are a number of different ways that you can test. One being, and one of the more popular ones, subject lines, testing different subject lines. We're going to show some examples in a minute here. Graphic emails versus a text-only email. We saw that example there on the iPhone of a graphic email. But you might try a text-only version so that people think it's, it gives it more of a personal feel if it's just a text-only as opposed to a nice designed graphic HTML. Day and time. We're going to show a really interesting example of day and time testing coming up. You might test different offers. Also the format. Like I said, you may have a nice graphic design one as opposed to a very simple message from a sales rep with a link to a particular article. Instead of just a newsletter with multiple pieces of content, you might just say, hey, you know what, here's a great article on improving productivity. Let me know what you think. So I wanted to show a couple different examples here of some testing that we have done with our clients. One test was a localized subject line. So this was a company that was in Silicon Valley and provided mostly IT staffing. And they sent out multiple pieces of content in the newsletter. So what we decided to do for this one particular newsletter was to highlight two different kind of aspects. The first subject line was, if you could be a superhero, any superhero for a day, who would you be? And that was the piece of content in there was about being interview questions, and kind of those interview questions that will throw you off your game a little bit. Well, within the same newsletter, there was also an article on Silicon Valley. Well, that's a very localized topic. So we took their list, we just split it right in half, just opened up their Excel file, split it in half. Half of the list got the superhero subject line, and half of the list got the Silicon Valley localized subject line. Well, as you can see, the localized version did much better. And you'll also see this, you can try doing some subject lines with the person's name actually in there, if you have a way to merge in the recipient's name. So you might try something like, Dave, if you could be a superhero for a day, who would you be? If you see your name in a subject line in your inbox, you're going to be much more apt to open it up as opposed to just a generic email. So there's a couple different ways that you can test subject lines. Another way to test is through design. And that last example, we saw a pretty good increase in views on the personalized subject line. Not every test you're going to do is going to make a huge impact. Here's a perfect example of that. This was an article on Pinterest for recruiting. And what we wanted to test here was we wanted to test a simple inline link to the article, like you'll see on the left, where it says this month's article, and that's highlighted so people can click through, as opposed to a graphic click link. So you'll see on the right it says click here for more, a nice little graphic button. It stands out. Now, if you would have asked me going into this, I would have thought that the nice image graphic button would get you better clicks. When we did the test, and this was over 1,000 people, we saw no difference. So you're not always going to see a huge difference when you're doing testing. The thing that you want to do is you always want to make sure that you are testing. Now, this is one of my favorite ones that we've done over the past year, and this is probably when we get clients starting up, probably the number one question we get when they're ready to send is, well, what's the best time to send? And we've been doing this. I've personally been here for over 10 years, and we've done a few studies here and there. And when you're reading up on content marketing or email marketing, you'll see articles that will say, well, 10 o'clock on Tuesdays is the best time to send. So we said, well, let's do a test ourselves. So here's month one, and as you can see, it's going to compare across the bottom there the time of day that it was sent against the view percentage. That's month one. Now month two, very similar results. As you can see, there really isn't a best time to send. If we're looking at this chart, at 1 o'clock, we got one that had 26% views. But then down at the bottom, at the same time, we got one that had 9% views. It really, honestly doesn't matter, especially when we think back to that report that now 50% of email recipients are opening up their emails on a mobile device. That means people aren't just checking their emails between 9 and 5. People are checking their emails in the morning before they come into work. They're checking their emails at home after dinner while they're watching TV. We're actually just starting to do some testing on sending at night, and hopefully we'll have some good results on that as well. But really, it doesn't matter what time you send, what day you send. When you see these reports that say, oh, Tuesday at 10 a.m. is the best time to send, well, then guess what happens? Everybody starts sending at 2 a.m. at Tuesday at 10 a.m., and then all of a sudden Tuesday at 10 a.m. is not the best time to send. So then in 6 months later, you'll see a different report. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. Another way to maximize your results is through lead generation. This is a really great example here. One of the new features of our Halo Mail program is our ebooks and how they relate to lead generation. If you have a white paper or an ebook or some really great piece of content, instead of just sending it out to your email list, which you should do anyway, why not add it to your website? This is an example here of a form. This is an ebook that was added to a client's website about winning the war for talent in today's economy. And instead of just having it available where people can click and download it, have it so that they have to at least enter their name and email before they download it. Most people will be willing to give you this information. When somebody downloads this, our clients get an email that says so-and-so has downloaded your ebook, and that's a really great warm lead. You know these people are interested in finding talent right now, so those are great people to follow up with. You also want to make sure you're integrating with sales. Sales calls, doing follow-up calls, taking a look at everybody who opened up your email this month and calling them, asking, hey, did you happen to see our email on improving productivity over the summer months? Yeah, you know what I did? We shared it with our team. We all talked about it. Great. There's a dialogue starter. Using them as drop-offs, taking good pieces of content. You know, we talk a lot here about the digital content, social media and blog and website and email marketing, but there's nothing wrong with an old-fashioned printed-up article. You may put a bunch of different articles together, put them in a binder, have it as your XYZ Staffing's hiring toolkit. Use that as a drop-off, as a leave behind. If you're going to a networking event or if you're going to a career fair, make sure you have pieces of content on hand that people can take with them. So it's not just about digital, it's about just getting that content out there as much as you can. And also using it in training. Use the content that you are sending out and train your staff on how they can use it. Some of the content you may even apply in-house. You know, if it's good stuff to be sending your clients, it's good enough to be using in-house as well. Wanted to show you a really great example of this on how you can take one piece of content and use it across multiple platforms. This is what I did was I took that study that we did on when's the best time to send an email, put together a nice little infographic about it. So we designed one infographic. We updated it onto our blog. So we added it into our Ask Haley blog here. We added it to Facebook as a post on Facebook so people can download it there. And I also added it into LinkedIn. I used it as a discussion starter within LinkedIn. So I went into the California Staffing Professionals. I'm a member of their group, and I added that in about when is the best time to send an email. Pieces of content are really great ways to get dialogue started, whether it's in person or whether it's over the phone or whether it's via social media. Taking information like this, posting it into different links, different groups within LinkedIn. So if you do accounting staffing, you might go in and find all the different accounting groups that are in your area and become members of those groups and share really good information. How to find the candidate that's not looking for a job. How to make sure productivity stays up during the summer months. Anything like that is really great. And I wanted to actually jump out of here one more time and show you how easy it can be to share content. Most pieces of content on the web will have something similar to this, a share button, a Facebook like button, a LinkedIn button. Most of them will have something similar to this share button. Very easy. So what I'm doing here is just taking an article from our Idea Club, your unofficial social media guide on what not to do. And I can just hover over this share button, and I can select, I can email this to somebody, I can post this to Facebook, I can post it to Twitter, or I can post it to LinkedIn. So I can click on this for LinkedIn, and it will share this with everybody within LinkedIn. So I can decide how I want to share this within LinkedIn. So it will automatically populate this with a title, and a link to the article, and I can customize this at all, and I can decide all the different places that I want to share this. And then all I have to do is click the share button, and it's automatically uploaded to that. So if you're building content on your website, on your blog, on your social media, you always want to make sure that you have something like this, not only so you can share very easily, so that other people can share very easily. We had another infographic about a month or so ago that had, I think, upwards of 150 shares. So it's stuff like that that really gets you a lot of traction. So not only are you sharing it with people, but other people are sharing it with their friends and their friends and their friends. So it all kind of starts to snowball a bit. Oop. Bear with me for 1 second here. Okay. Next thing we want to talk about in terms of maximizing your results is list segmentation. We talked earlier about splitting your list into two and doing some A/B testing, sending one subject line to one group and one subject line to another group. But there's also some other ways that you can segment your list. You may segment by industry, by job discipline, by relationship. So you might say, we want to run a promotion to all of our prospects, not our clients, but our prospects. Well, if you have your list segmented by whether a person's a client or a prospect, you can send that very easily. Or if you do multiple industries, so you might be doing accounting and marketing and sales and admin, and you say, we want to just market some top candidates to our accounting clients. Well, that's very easy to do if you have your list segmented by industry. You can also do a response list and a non-response list. What this would be taking a look at a mailing you sent out, and everybody who either opened it or clicked on a link, you may send them some follow-up information. Same thing you might do people who didn't show up on those lists. I had a client one time that after their first mailing went out, they took a look at everybody who didn't open up their email. And they called them personally and just said, hey, you know what, we're just starting to send out this brand new newsletter. It's got some great content on ... We hope you're going to enjoy it. If you have any questions at any time or suggestions for other content, let us know. Well, what that did, it was jogged people's memory to kind of keep an eye out for that. In the next month, their open rate doubled. It went from 16 to 32. Just by making those quick calls and just reminding people that, hey, there's this really great piece of content that we're sending out every month, and keep an eye out for it. All right, so we've talked about a lot of different things today, and I know I talk kind of fast, so just want to remind everybody that the recording is going to be made available in about a week or so, and you'll get an email on that as well, and that all the slides are also going to be available after this presentation. So wanted to do some quick take-home here and what we talked about today. First, if you're not doing email marketing, you really need to be doing it right away. It's like we talked about, it's one of the best ROIs of any marketing that you can do. You also want to make sure you have a plan. We talked about doing homework, sitting down and identifying who is who you are, who is XYZ Stamping, what is the story that you want to tell. Have some goals, plan out your content, plan out the calendar. And then it's also important to measure the results. And this kind of goes with the next bullet of choosing a partner. Whoever you use to do your email marketing, you want to make sure that there's a way to track all the email that you're sending out. So a reports function to show who's received the email, who's opened the email, who's clicking on the different links within the email. Also talked about mobile design. How to design a mobile-friendly email template. It is so important. Like we talked about, 50% of your recipients are now opening their emails on a mobile device. You have to make sure that it is mobile-friendly. Producing content. Make sure you keep it relevant, make sure you keep it useful, and also make sure you keep it entertaining. That's one of the keys there is have fun with it. We talked about doing things like celebrating people's birthdays in-house, making sure you put a picture up of the birthday party in the office, or if you're doing some charitable events, make it fun for people. And also determine your offers. Make sure you have some offers in there. Determine, when you're going to do an ebook that is going to be a lead generation tool, when you're going to do any special promotions or a top candidate promotion. And then finally, you want to make sure you're testing. Test everything. We talked about subject lines, doing a test on that, testing different formats, testing different pieces of content. Make sure that you're testing so that you know what is working, what isn't working. And when we do testing, I always suggest to do A/B tests. Testing one thing versus another, just one thing at a time. So if you're testing your subject lines, that should be the only thing you're testing in that mailing. Don't test format also, because you want to know what exactly it was that worked, why you got such a great increase. So if you do it, 1 month you do subject line test, next month try the formatting test. And then finally, thinking outside the box, making sure that you're using this content across all of your platforms. It's one of the things that we preach here nonstop with our email marketing clients is take the content from your newsletter and use it across all your platforms. Integrate it with social media, so putting it on Facebook, sharing it with groups on LinkedIn, sharing it on Twitter, using it as blog posts. People always talk about, geez, I don't have time to write a blog. Take the content from somewhere else and put it into your blog. Take the content from your newsletter and add it into your blog. That wraps things up for me today. We did get a couple questions that came in, which I'm going to get to in just a second. But I just want to let you know about the Staffing World Net Should Be 2013 recap coming up in a couple weeks. So we're sending a group down to Orlando this year for Staffing World, and we're going to be doing a recap of the best of the best from Staffing World coming up on the 24th. So a couple questions came in, and one of them was about how to best grow your email list. That's a great question. We talked about kind of ways not to grow your email list, but the best ways to grow your email list is always to make sure that it's permission-based. You really don't want to get into any situations that we talked about on the earlier slide. Make sure they're permission-based. The easiest ways to do it, every single person that you speak to on the phone or in person, make sure you just ask them for their email address. You don't have to sell them on your newsletter. You don't have to explain everything, but you can simply say, hey, you know what, when I get back to the office, I'd like to send you some more information. Can I get your email list? And 9 times out of 10, people are going to give you their email list. We had one single, and I know I've used this example many times, but it's kind of our gold standard. We had one single salesperson who, in 1 year's time, grew his list to 3,000 names just simply by asking. People think you have to be very fancy about this. Just simply ask somebody what their email address is. Tell them you're going to send them some more information. When you get back to the office, send them some more information, but then just mention, I've also added you to our newsletter list. You can opt out at any time. If there's any other questions, please feel free to use that the questions box on the side. Another question just came in from Kathy. Is it important to add your own comments to the post when sharing social content? I definitely would, and it can be something very simple. For example, if you're doing, if you're adding a link into a group within LinkedIn, you might say, hey, this is an article on improving productivity over the summer months. What are some of the ways that you improve productivity over the summer months? Make it a discussion. Get it started. Then when people are responding to it, you definitely want to thank them for responding if they come up with questions. For example, the infographic that I showed there about best times to send an email, I posted into a group within LinkedIn, and somebody asked me a question about saying, well, it looks like such and such time is the best time. And I said, well, if you look at them as a group, yes, they're over a 3-hour time span, but the point of the study was to find that one specific time that's a better time to send, and which we didn't really find. But you always want to be getting discussion started. And then within LinkedIn, if people are joining in with your discussion and they're not already members of your network, make sure you add them to your network. Let's see, another question that came in. Can I send email marketing through my own personal Outlook? Yes, you can. Should you? No. there are a number of reasons why you shouldn't do this. The biggest being you can get into some CAN spam issues. If people do report you to CAN spam houses, it can be very difficult to get off of those lists. We have had to deal with that in the past, and it can be very time-consuming and take up a lot of resources. What you want to do is partner with a third-party company like Haley Marketing that can provide that type of coverage for you. So they'll send out emails on your behalf from their server so yours do not get into any trouble. Another question, kind of on the same topic, pulling email addresses from a website, is that inappropriate? Yes, it is. You want to make sure that you are not doing that. That is one of the no-nos in terms of building up your email list. You absolutely do not want to just be pulling through websites, pulling off of resumes, doing any type of just grabbing email addresses off of the internet, because that can be considered spamming. Question came in, what about selling, quote-unquote, selling through email marketing like a top candidates list? Does that work? Yes, that definitely does. One of the first slides that we looked at the beginning of this presentation. It's one of the most effective ways to use email marketing is to do top candidate promotions. I usually suggest to clients about 5 or so of your top candidates available. Short little paragraph, doesn't have to be their entire resume, but I always use the phrase, get into used car salesman mode. You really want to sell these people to your clients and prospects. Make sure that there is a very easy way for people to respond to you. Usually when I set those up for my clients, I'll put a little line of text after the candidate description that says, for more information about this candidate, please contact or please click here, and it'll just open up an email box, and so they can email directly to the salesperson or recruiter that's associated with that candidate. Interesting question just came in. You really can't contact complete strangers through email marketing. Is that correct? Yes, I guess that is true. You do, again, and I can't stress this enough, you want to make sure your list is permission-based. You want to make sure that these people have at least gotten, you've gotten their email address from them and they've given you permission to email them. Now, in terms of reaching complete strangers, there's plenty of other marketing tactics that you can use. One of the things that we showed on today's webinar was the ebook on your website. Posting the ebook there, having a way for people to download it, and then provide you their information so that you can contact them. They're considered warm leads then. All right, if there's no other questions, then I will thank everybody for taking part today. Again, don't forget, coming up next month on the 24th, we will have our Staffing World Recap. Again, it's 2013, not 2012, like the slide says. And you can check out lunchwithhaley.com for more information about that and to also register. So, again, the slides will be sent out in the next day or two, and look in the next week or so, we'll have a full recording of this sent out to everybody. If any questions do come up, please don't hesitate to contact me, contact anybody here at Haley Marketing. Thank you once again for attending, and we will talk to you next month.